Welcome to this explainer of Surah Al-Dukhan, the 44th chapter of the Quran. Listen, if you're looking for profound meaning, some truly startling imagery, and a reality check that just completely cuts through the noise of daily life, you are in the exact right place. Today, we're going to explore the incredible metaphors, the deep historical context, the spiritual lessons, and the profound virtues of this really powerful chapter. So let's jump right into it. Okay, let's dive into this. What if a terrifying divine warning is actually a profound act of mercy? I know, it sounds like a total paradox, doesn't it? But this is the exact psychological and spiritual framework of Surah Al-Dukhan. You know, in a world full of endless distractions, sometimes a sudden, jarring warning is literally the only thing that can wake us up. Think of it kind of like a smoke alarm in your house. The sound of a smoke alarm is incredibly loud, it's startling, and honestly, waking up to it is terrifying. But it's not designed to harm you, right? It's designed to save your life. Well, this surah operates the exact same way. It uses a bit of fear to shake humanity awake from our heedlessness and point us straight toward ultimate safety. So what does the title actually mean? Dukhan translates to the smoke. The text of the surah warns of a day when the sky is going to bring forth a massive, visible smoke. But it carries this brilliantly profound dual meaning. Yes, it refers to a physical sign, but metaphorically, the smoke represents the spiritual blindness, the nagging doubt, and that thick, heavy confusion that just completely paralyzes humanity when we lose our sense of purpose. When we're lost in this metaphorical smoke, we just can't see the reality of the hereafter. The entire surah essentially serves as a massive gust of wind designed to blow all of that doubt away.
Now, to dispel a dark, blinding smoke, you need a really powerful light. And that brings us perfectly to the origins of this chapter. Surah Al-Dukhan is the 5th chapter in the esteemed Hawamim series. That's a collection of chapters that the Prophet's companions beautifully referred to as the adornments and the gardens of the Quran. It was actually revealed in Makkah during a period of really intense hardship. But look at how it opens. It swears by the clear book sent down on a blessed night. Scholars pretty widely agree this is referencing Laylatul Qadr, the night of decree. The contrast here is just stunning. Right in the middle of the darkest of nights, Allah sent down the ultimate clear light to save humanity from the darkest of punishments.
Now, what's really fascinating here is the intense scholarly debate surrounding the actual prophecy of the smoke that's mentioned in the text. Did this major event already happen, or is it something we're still waiting for? There are two primary schools of thought here, and both are grounded in some seriously deep scriptural analysis. On one side, we have the historical perspective, which was championed by the great companion Ibn Masud. And on the flip side, we have the futuristic, eschatological view supported by heavy hitters like Ibn Kathir and Ibn Abbas. Let's break down exactly what both of these interpretations entail, impartially. Let's look at the historical view first. According to Ibn Masud, this prophecy was actually already fulfilled during the time of the Prophet in Makkah. Because the Quraysh were just aggressively intensifying their persecution, the Prophet prayed for severe famine to humble them, something similar to the 7 years of famine back in the story of Prophet Joseph. And, well, the famine hit hard. The Makkans became so incredibly exhausted and starved that when they physically looked up at the sky, their sheer exhaustion created an optical illusion of smoke. It got so bad that Abu Sufyan begged the Prophet to pray for rain. The rain came, the Makkans were saved, but then they immediately reverted right back to disbelief. Because of this, the greatest seizure, mentioned a bit later in the surah, is interpreted by this specific camp as the crushing defeat of the Quraysh at the Battle of Badr. Moving on to the second view, the future portent. Now, scholars like Ibn Kathir and Ibn Abbas, they rely on the explicit wording of the text and several prophetic traditions to argue that the smoke is actually one of the 10 major signs that will precede the Day of Judgment. So in this view, it is a very literal global event that is yet to happen. The Hadith traditions indicate this future smoke is going to completely blanket the earth. But here is the truly fascinating detail about this. For the believers, it will basically just feel like catching a mild cold. No big deal. However, for the unbelievers, it's going to be a terrifying ordeal, literally permeating their entire bodies. Ibn Kathir notes that the phrasing of the text, saying this smoke will envelop the people, really strongly suggests a massive global phenomenon, not just a localized illusion over Mecca. Whichever interpretation of the smoke you lean towards, the overarching thematic core of the surah stays exactly the same, and it is perfectly captured in this verse. We did not create the heavens and the earth and everything in between for sport. This right here is the absolute philosophical anchor of Surah Al-Dukhan,
Our existence is not some random cosmic accident. The universe wasn't whipped up just for a mindless amusement. It was created in absolute truth, with a very profound purpose. The surah aggressively targets the spiritual disease of treating life like it's just a game, challenging us to take our existence and our ultimate destination incredibly seriously.
So, how do we actually apply this today? How do we wake up from what the Quran calls play? First, we've got to recognize that spiritual doubt isn't always some grand, philosophical, intellectual struggle. Sometimes the surah diagnoses it as just a form of heedless play or amusement. Second, we have to actively shift our daily routines from mindless consumption to purposeful living. Third, and this is huge, we need to completely rewire our cost-benefit analysis. We need to start factoring the eternal consequences of the hereafter into our daily short-term decisions. And finally, the ultimate goal, cultivating yaqeen, or unshakable certainty. Surah Al-Dukhan is basically a divine training manual for building this exact type of certainty. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why we need that certainty. You see, the surah doesn't just casually tell you about the hereafter. It practically forces you to experience it through these incredibly stark, intense sensory contrasts. On one side, you have the fate of the arrogant. They are dragged into the fire, forced to eat from the bitter, boiling tree of zakum, tormented by scalding water. It is a terrifying wake-up call. But then, right on the other side, you have the fate of the righteous. They are relaxing amid lush gardens and springs, calling for any fruit they want in absolute serenity, dressed in fine silk, totally secure from sorrow and death. By putting these two vivid realities side by side, the surah just jolts the human heart. It makes the unseen world feel tangible, real, and extremely urgent. Let's look a little closer at the fate of the arrogant. The surah recounts the final moments of powerful disbelievers. Think of people like the Pharaoh, who will be told in hell, "Taste this, you mighty, noble one." The divine irony here is just staggering. It is a direct, piercing mockery of the worldly titles, the hoarded wealth, and the social status they were so proud of during their lives. It's a profound reminder for all of us today. True honor, true izzah, does not come from your fancy job title, your bank account, or your social media follower count. Those are temporary illusions. True honor belongs exclusively to the hereafter.
Conversely, what is the ultimate reward for the righteous people who don't fall for those worldly illusions? It is the maqam amin, the secure place. Think about it. In this world, we spend so much time, money, and energy trying to buy security. We buy alarm systems, premium insurance, we pad our savings accounts. We just desperately want to feel safe. But worldly security is always fragile, isn't it? Surah Al-Dukhan reveals that true, absolute, eternal security, which means freedom from all fear, all sorrow, and even death itself, is a hidden reward granted exclusively to those who cultivate taqwa, or God consciousness. The path to ultimate security is simply taking the divine warnings seriously. Now, let's shift gears and talk about the specific virtues and rewards of reciting this chapter. If you've spent any time researching Surah Al-Dukhan, you have absolutely come across this number, 70,000. It relates to a very famous hadith recorded by Imam at-Tirmidhi, which states that whoever recites Surah Al-Dukhan at night, 70,000 angels will seek forgiveness for them in the morning. It sounds like an incredible, specific mathematical promise, right? But what do the actual scholars of hadith authentication say about this? So, the crucial point we need to make here is context. Hadith scholars, and this actually includes Imam al-Tirmidhi himself, have graded that 70,000 angels hadith as weak due to some issues in its chain of narration. The exact same goes for another famous hadith that promises very specific rewards for reciting it specifically on Friday nights. However, and please, this is vital, this absolutely doesn't mean we just abandon the practice. Actually, scratch the specific numbers for a second. While those specific mathematical promises might be from weak narrations, the general principles behind them are rock solid. Engaging with the Quran at night is an authentically established, highly virtuous practice. Friday night is universally recognized as an incredibly blessed time. And like we talked about earlier, this surah is part of the revered Hawamim group. Combining a blessed text with a highly blessed time is always, for sure, a spiritually sound practice. So how do we practically incorporate this powerful surah into our busy modern lives? Well, here is your actionable blueprint. First, try to build a habit of reciting it at night. Maybe make it a Thursday night routine so you can catch the blessings of the eve of Friday, doing so with a general, sincere hope of seeking Allah's forgiveness. Second, make it your special companion during the last 10 nights of Ramadan. Remember, it opens by celebrating the blessed night of Laylatul Qadr, so it's quite literally the perfect text to reflect on during that time. And finally, use it actively. Don't just mindlessly read the words. Use its verses as prompts to genuinely reflect on the purpose of creation and make sincere dua for that unshakable certainty we talked about earlier. And that brings us to the ultimate crossroads presented by this incredible chapter. Are you going to remain lost in the smoke of doubt, just treating life as a temporary, passing game? Or will you heed the warning, wake up to your true purpose, and seek out the Maqam Amin, the secure place? Surah Al-Dukhan leaves absolutely no room for a middle ground. It's profound, it's a bit jarring, but ultimately, it is an incredibly merciful wake-up call. The choice, as the text so beautifully and starkly lays out, is entirely